I'm Sergeant Linn Dillard, as the Colonel said, and when I'm not wearing my uniform, I enjoy gardening and brewing my own kombucha and hanging out with my 4 kitty cats and driving my new Tesla around. But today we're here to talk about resiliency, right? So my story begins about 15 years ago when I joined the United States Air Force in 2004. And the first skill the military trained me to do was medical laboratory. And my first assignment, where I spent the most time, was at a blood donor center. And 2004, 9/11 was still pretty fresh, and we were still hunting for Osama bin Laden, and there was roadside bombs everywhere, and improvised explosive devices, wounding people, Battle of Fallujah, all of that going on. And so we would collect pint after pint of blood, day after day, and ship it overseas to help the wounded service members. And it was a noble job, and it was really important, and I knew that. But after a while, it started to wear on me, and I wanted to do more. And so I wondered if there was a way that I could get closer to the front line so that maybe the pints of blood that we were shipping, that people wouldn't need them, if I could prevent that. So with that calling, I decided to retrain into explosive ordnance disposal, EOD, in 2009. And I went to school at Eglin Air Force Base, Florida. And it's a really tough school. Only 3 out of the 25 people in my original class finished. And EOD in general is very mentally and physically demanding. And there's about 1,500 of us in the Air Force, and maybe 3% are women. And so I was really proud to graduate, and I was even more excited to deploy because I wanted to start saving lives, which was the whole reason I switched jobs. And I quickly got my opportunity. Within 8 months, I was headed out to Helmand Province, Afghanistan, and my job was route clearance. Like the Colonel talked about, most people drive around trying to avoid the bombs, and we were driving around looking for them. And on my first mission out, we found one. It detonated under my truck, probably about 40-pound charge. We were 7th in the convoy, and for whatever reason, they singled out my truck in particular to blow up that day. And even though it was an armored vehicle, and I had my helmet on and my vest on, blast overpressure is not kind to your brain. And I did start experiencing some symptoms of traumatic brain injury. I still struggle with short-term memory loss. I call it my paper memory. I have to write everything down. I'm really bad with names now, whereas I was not before. And I used to leave the burner on the stove on all the time. I was trying to burn the house down for whatever reason. But anyway, for the next few months, we kept driving around the country, doing cool stuff, disarming bombs, saving the day, getting into firefights, and it was really, really awesome. Probably until our last mission. And we had 2 Marines that day get blown up within 5 minutes of each other. And my medical training came back to me quickly, thankfully, and we patched him up, and we put him on a helicopter, and we shipped him out to the hospital. And they both lost their legs, but they did live, and which was great, but it was still really hard for me to see my friends like that. And we had spent, all of those months in the evenings playing cards, playing Scrabble, getting to know each other, talking about our families, our hopes, our dreams. Gabe, he was married, and his wife wanted to race horses in Colorado. And Justin, he had extended his enlistment to go on that deployment, but he wanted to get out and go to college. And so it really started to affect me when I got home and I was experiencing some of those post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms. And I wasn't handling it very well, but I was too embarrassed and too prideful to ask for help or to go see anybody about it. And so what I did was I just stayed busy. I did anything and everything to keep my mind off of it. I worked myself to death, 8 or 9 at night, every night. I wasn't sleeping well, I wasn't eating well. Some nights I kind of self-medicated to take my mind off the pain. But I was still going to work, I was still doing the mission. I deployed one more time, and on the outside it looked like I had my life together, but on the inside I was a mess. And I was reaching a breaking point. And in a really weird, twisted way, what saved me was that in 2013 I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. And not to say that cancer is easy. I don't want to take away from how hard chemo is. It's grueling. Radiation makes you so tired. You're just like melting into the couch. You lose your hair. You lose part of your body. I didn't feel like myself. I didn't even feel, like a woman anymore. But it did force me to slow down and address some of those issues that I had been burying down for all of those years from that first deployment. And the Air Force was really great for me. They said, don't go to work for a whole year. On the civilian side, maybe you lose your job if you don't go to work for a whole year, but the Air Force said, go to your appointments and take care of yourself, and that's all you have to do. And probably most importantly was that they enrolled me into the Air Force Wounded Warrior Program, which is an organization that helps the most seriously ill and injured airmen, whether it's combat or non-combat, people, amputees, or like me, cancer survivors, military, sexual assault, anything and everything. They will take you under their wing and help propel your recovery forward. And they host these care events, and they do yoga and art therapy and music therapy and adaptive sports. They teach you the power of healing through sport and competition. And all of those, were really, really great for me. There's more than 9,000 airmen in the Wounded Warrior Program, and we're all getting to see the most kind and compassionate side of the Air Force. I was honored in 2017 and 2018 to get selected for the Air Force Wounded Warrior Games, and it's where we go compete against the other services, the Army, the Marines, the Navy, in a sports competition. I was swimming and cycling and running track. And then I also competed in the Invictus Games, which is hosted by Prince Harry. We went to Sydney, Australia, and competed against our NATO partners, which was really, really awesome. And I was finally starting to feel like myself again. And I went back to work. I got promoted a couple times. I started volunteering for the American Cancer Society. I was, moving on with my life. And in December, I finished remission, so 5 years down the hatch. I'm cured, so they say. And I feel like I'm gonna live forever. And now I get to do stuff like this, where I do speaking engagements, and I get to tell the Air Force story and talk about how great they have been to me, how awesome the Wounded Warrior Program has been for all of us suffering with visible and invisible wounds. And so it wasn't an easy road. It didn't happen overnight, but today I'm happy, I'm hopeful, and I'm at peace with all of my experiences. And the resiliency is certainly a key piece in that, and all the Air Force has trained us to do. And like my counterparts were saying, that maybe you're not the same person that you were in the beginning, but you do find a way to move on and be a better person than when you started. So I think we're all excited for your questions as we wrap this up. Thank you.